They told you the city had to act fast. They told you the canyon properties were our best chance for affordable housing. They told you the community land trust was the answer before there was even a plan, a board, or a transparent public process. And yet the city rushed into an $8.65 million canyon acquisition in a flood zone inside a designated fire corridor with no feasibility studies, no geological report, and no financial model that pencils. Today, we're going on the inside of that decision with someone who was in the room and pushing back. Former Laguna Beach City Council member George Weiss. This is Unmasked, and the truth starts now. George, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate you being here. And for all of the people that are listening, can you give us a little background on who George Weiss is?
Well, thank you, Marcella, for having me here, and I'm glad to be here. So, I'm George Weiss. I've lived in the city for 20 years as a resident. I was on the city council for 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. I've been involved in the Housing Human Services Committee. I was president of the Film Society. There was one in Laguna, believe it or not.
When was that?
And that was in 2015 to 2017.
Oh,
I was a
nice.
member for 7 years, and we picked esoteric films and showed them and had some fun. So that's me. And I have a wife and a child and two beautiful grandchildren. So,
Grandchildren are
and
fun.
I do a Substack. So please sign up at George Weiss at Substack. Thank you.
Um, well, I appreciate you being here. So today I wanted to sit down and talk to you about the land trust and the properties that are in the land trust and affordable housing. And you've been involved in the city for such a long time. You kind of know the behind the scenes and all of the dealings and whether things are a good idea, a bad idea, and how to maybe start solving the housing crisis that we have here in Laguna Beach. And I was hoping we could dive into the Canyon Land Trust and the two properties identified. And for
Sure.
people that may not be up to speed on it, the city has just purchased or is under contract, excuse me, for two properties, one at 2307 and 2535 Laguna Canyon Road. The combined price is approximately 8.65 million.
Hmm.
The properties are currently zoned M1A industrial. They are located in the FEMA flood zone. They're also positioned in a high risk fire corridor. And according to public staff records, several key evaluations, including geological studies, structural condition, and long term cost assessments, have not been completed yet. Can I hear your take on all this?
Well, I agree with everything you said. It seems to be a decision, a financial decision that is not warranted at this point. And I think it's a sign that we're making very bad financial decisions for residents with taxpayer money. And I, I
100%
would I
agree.
would I would say this as well, that in 2024, when this came up to council, we were supposed to have a financial plan for it, and it wasn't there. It didn't come in December of 2024. So we're putting the cart before the horse. I want to say something else about the housing. I do agree that we have a land trust, and I should think it should exist to provide an opportunity for people to donate land and to own property that provides affordable housing for workers in Laguna.
Mhm.
Okay, and I don't want to lose all of our workers that live here, work here, to not be able to work here and live outside.
Mhm.
So I think, but this is not a good decision, and hopefully it's still under escrow, and in January the final decision will be made.
Right, but they're non-refundable. So that to me would indicate that they're moving forward without the proper studies and the proper due diligence.
That's correct. There's contamination on the site that we don't know what the cost will be.
Mhm.
They have to be ADA compliant. I think they there's no specifications on artist work live. Is this a category? Is this going to help us with our housing goals, our affordable housing goals? I don't think it counts toward our affordable housing goals at
Unless they
all.
make them all affordable.
Unless they make, well, there's only
Mhm.
five there, unless they make them all affordable, which then affects the business plan and repayment of 8.5 million. Remember, the city is borrowing, lending the money to the
Mhm.
housing, to an organization that doesn't yet isn't legitimately legal.
Well, and they're borrowing money from different funds, and
Right.
there's no payment plan on how they're gonna get that money back, and Councilmember Orgel said there's an existing cash flow from rents on the property, and that between that cash flow and other fundraising mechanisms, the future land trust should be able to make the city whole within 2 to 3 years. I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty important quote because Mark Orgel should know better. I don't see how that's feasible at all.
Well, I don't think he's provided the evidence. Here's something about city council when I was on it. A lot of times on issues that involve money, there wasn't really a plan for how we would buy something or how we would fund it.
Mhm.
It just said, "Trust us, we can do it. We'll find the money to do it." So I always believed that any item that's brought before council needs a funding plan. How are you gonna do it?
Right.
How are you gonna and in this case, there isn't one. Mark wasn't transparent about what the cash flow is. If you look at the report and the staff report, in that staff report is only a smattering of what is being paid. You have people like Peter Blake in there with his wife. They have two rentals. They're a warehouse space. Um, Mr. George Dubin, who's on the planning commission, lives in one of the properties. It's
Illegally,
artist
by the
work
way.
live, and it's illegal.
Mhm.
We know that.
Mhm.
But is also Clayton uh, Dubin there as well? This
Mhm.
is probably his son. I don't really know who he is.
Yeah.
So there, I don't understand why there isn't a complete accounting of what the rental is, what the rental income is, and then how are you going to fundraise for the rest of it? Are they going to ask Joe Hanauer and others
I
to
believe they're
fund
planning
this?
on trying to go out to the private sector, but building in the canyon, I could tell you, it is very expensive, and you do have to do your proper due diligence and get the proper reporting done so that you know what you're getting into. And I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I do think it's very suspicious, coincidental that these 2 properties that were identified for the land trust, George Dubin lives there illegally.
Well,
I
let me ask you about how difficult it is to build because you're a developer,
Mhm,
and you're in a floodplain and your high severity fire zone.
mhm.
What would you have to mitigate to build anything? It's a huge
Well,
amount of money,
yeah, in the
right?
canyon, we had to build out of the floodplain, and we are designated on FEMA because we did it right, and the concrete cost alone was over $1,000,000 to get us up out of the floodplain to be legal, and
Right.
then obviously you have to have ADA access and all the things, so looking at those 2 sites, I don't see how they're going to make this pencil with the $8.65 million price tag, plus all the things they have to do if their intention really is to turn it into artist live work housing.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because these all of these units are some of them are elevated. They have a two-story. I don't know how many of them, but there hasn't been really a, as you say, a plan for how you would even improve more housing. Why are you buying something that are just warehouses for people to work in, many of whom aren't necessarily artists who live in Laguna? All of the people who live there now are not from Laguna, except for George Dubin.
Yeah.
So you have to question, as you said, what's the relationship between Mr. Dubin and Mr. Wargill?
Yeah.
Are we doing this for one artist in Laguna?
Well, it's the whole city council that's actually getting behind it and
Exactly.
backing it up. And I
Right.
was watching one of the meetings where they're saying, something about the signage in the canyon and how there's a couple of restaurants out there that have like the backlit signage now, which per the code is illegal. And Bob Whalen said, well, if it's illegal, we need to get code enforcement involved. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to get code enforcement involved for an illegally lit sign, but you have a planning commissioner who is illegally living in one of the properties that you've identified in the land trust. I don't
I
see
I
how all
I
of that.
I appreciate your comment. Bob could just call code enforcement and report it himself if he wanted to. He's an attorney.
Right.
He understands that and he knows how to do this.
Well,
Yeah.
but
So
they elected George Dubin to be on
yeah,
the planning commission.
right.
They knew that he lives in an
They did.
illegal
They did.
warehouse.
Yeah, and I brought that out when he was nominated.
And what was the
And there
response?
was no reaction to it at all. They just ignored it completely. I said, "It's not a good sign that a planning commissioner is living in an illegal structure that's in a code violation, should have a sprinkler system."
Mhm,
And I talked to George about it. I said,
mhm,
"Why don't you get fundraise for it? It's $30,000. Have the landlord put in half the money and
mhm.
have people donate the rest to it."
Yeah.
No, he didn't think it was possible. but he became commissioner anyway, and
It's not a good look for the city that they're
it
willing to turn a blind eye on certain things, but not a blind eye on
it's
other
selective enforcement,
selective I like
which
that.
has been around for many, many years, Marcella, and it should stop.
Do you think that the city is approaching the land trust in a way that it's gonna be successful in the future?
Well, I think they're placing a huge burden on it right now. For cash flow, we don't know, and for whatever improvements they need to make on ADA, on the contamination, which we don't know the
Mhm.
extent of,
Nope.
right? We also don't know if they need to upgrade it for the high severity fire zones. There's certain state restrictions on that. When a
Mhm.
property is sold, it has to meet those standards. We don't
Mhm.
know what those standards are, how they apply to this property. That wasn't in any of the reports.
Which doesn't make sense to me because as a developer, I get everything in line and I make sure that it pencils. And to be unrealistic and say it's going to get paid back between 2 to 3 years to me, I mean, if they could do it, then they're going to prove me wrong, but I've never seen anything be done in 2 to 3 years with the amount of work they have in front of them
Well,
to
how
make this
much money is
successful.
necessary?
They don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe they do know and they haven't disclosed it.
Pardon?
Maybe they do know and they haven't disclosed it. Is it part of those closed door sessions that you used to
Well,
be a part of?
no, everything that's related to that property should have been disclosed at the public session, so the public knows what the city is getting into financially.
Mhm.
Is it a big hole in the ground that we're gonna be pouring money into,
Yes.
taxpayer money into for years?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
I don't disagree with you, but
Yes.
that's the danger.
Yeah.
Unless we know that, we don't know that.
Well,
We don't know.
according to what my research found, they're taking 2.2 million from the insurance fund. They're taking 2 million from the parking fund and 1 million from the open space fund. Do you think that's good allocations?
No, I don't. I think frankly, going back to this land trust itself isn't fully formed.
Mhm.
We shouldn't be fully making decisions for a land trust that's not completely legal and certified.
Agree.
Why would we do that?
I don't know. Why do you think they're doing
I
that?
think they're doing it as a hobby project. I mean, Mr. Whalen had us buy St. Catharines, and it's sitting there as the fire department command
What was
headquarters.
the purpose of buying St. Catharines? Do you know?
Um, there was extensive discussion about the use of it until
Mhm.
the lawyer cut that off.
Mhm.
We could build a pool over here. We could use this church as a music venue.
Mhm.
We could rent out the gym as a theater.
But that's a very
We could
expensive
make money.
purchase.
$23 million, and you're gonna tear down some of the classrooms to build a
Mhm.
pool.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm all for pools for the public. We don't have
Mhm.
our own municipal pool, but it seemed like, weren't clear as to how we were gonna get the money to pay for all of that. That would
Right.
have been a 20 or $30 million investment in addition to what we're already buying at
Mhm.
$23 million. So, it was a hobby project that wasn't thought through by Mr. Whalen.
Did they
It's an
have a business
albatross.
plan for it
None,
saying, "This is how
none.
much it's gonna cost, here's the ideas, this is why we should buy it," or is it, "Hey, it's for sale, let's buy it now and figure out what we do with it later?"
That's exactly what it was. Bob wanted to buy it, and so did the city manager. She kind of acted as a real estate broker for it and
Did she
said,
get paid fees on that?
"Pardon me?"
Did she get paid fees for doing that transaction?
No, no, I think Bob, Chapman was the actual realtor on it, but she
Uh-huh.
was acting as a kind of a real estate agent for it, telling us what we could do with it,
Okay.
you know?
Because Bob Chapman was listing the property.
Bob Chapman was listing the property, and I don't know what his fee was at the time,
Mm. I
um,
was just
but it
curious.
should be sold. I mean,
Yeah.
right now, the all it's being used for is the command staff, and it's a grand office for the command staff. Everybody has an ocean view, and
It's a
it's
beautiful
wonderful,
piece of
but it's
property. We actually had put a bid on it for a lot more than what the city bought it for, and we wanted to do a housing up there. We thought it'd be a great place for housing. No one could see it. It was out of the way, nice big piece of land. People would have beautiful views up there, and it would be a great place to put affordable housing, maybe figure out how to repurpose the building that is actually there to make it affordable
yeah,
housing.
yeah. Well, I think it's a good idea. Unfortunately, the diocese, according to
Yeah,
the sources we know, wanted to either sell it as a school, sell it to a municipality, to the city itself,
right.
or for some other public purpose. But, I mean, I think housing could fit there well. It
Yeah,
already is there next
r-
door,
right,
right?
right.
So
Um, Going back to a detailed repayment schedule. I have done a lot of research I cannot find anything. Is there anything out there that can exist that maybe the city is kinda holding for the
No,
public not to
no,
see?
there isn't anything. All that was reported was a smattering of what people are paying now.
Okay.
$2,900. Peter Blake has a
Studio.
studio, and he's
Uh-huh.
not an artist. I imagine
His wife's an artist.
his wife's an artist, but they
Yes.
have two.
Okay.
They have two units there, under one under her name and one under his. So I imagine his is being used for storage of artwork or for furniture. It's not really a studio. He's not an artist himself that I know of. So there's no repayment plan.
No repayment plan.
No, it's just pie in the sky. They in the contract, it requires repayment within 5 years to the city.
And what happens if the repayment doesn't get made in
I
5
think the
years?
the taxpayer's on the hook.
Okay. I think that
So they give them another 5
8.65.
years.
Right, they're just gonna extend it. I believe that the 8.65 could have been put into other
There is,
things that the city needs, you know?
I appreciate you bringing that up, Marcella, because what we had over the years, the last few years, is a spending spree, beginning with Tiamo, starting with Tiamo, adding to that the school district, the school that was sitting there as an albatross, $23 million.
Mhm.
Maybe it's worth that. Maybe it's worth more.
It's a
But
I don't
but
think it's not worth the 23,
yeah,
but as a city, if you're
exactly.
gonna buy it, you
Are
should have
we
a
are
plan,
we in the
a
real estate?
community serving plan.
Are we in the real estate business? No, we shouldn't be. The city's job is one, to protect the public. Public safety is job one, and to provide services for the community,
Mhm.
whatever those are, all of those things. So we're getting off on buying land, but they purchased Tiamo, we and it didn't work out. And we knew it wouldn't work out.
They have construction on it now actively. Did the
Yeah, I
city
mean,
sell that?
yeah, it's actually going to be a pizza commissary, would call it.
Is the city the landlord, or did they
No,
sell
they
that
sold it.
property?
They sold it
Okay.
and we made some money on it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, we made some
That's a
money on it.
win.
Yeah.
That's a
It's gonna
win.
be, can't remember the name, Truly Pizza bought it.
Okay.
So they're gonna be using it as a depot, but I don't wanna get into that. But but I wanted to go further on what the city is doing with spending money. Okay,
Mhm.
so we've had a number of projects. We've had, Downtown Action Plan, which was passed years ago for $14 million.
Mhm.
Funding isn't there for it. We have a net $11 million for the downtown for the new Fire
Mhm.
Station 1. I'm not in disagreement that that should be built. We have 318 or $17 million that we need to spend over 20 years to build all of those city buildings up to code,
Mhm.
right?
That should be
So
a focus.
pardon me?
That should be a focus for the city.
It should. It
Mhm.
should, because that's public safety and public
Mhm.
safety for our staff.
Mhm.
So we have $141 million that was proposed to build out the canyon, to do undergrounding, to put a bike path in, a walking path in.
They've been
Um,
talking about that for a long time.
10 years, 12 years,
Yeah.
and we've already spent $4 to $8 million on it.
Mhm.
Again, that's a Mr. Whalen project.
Now, is the
Um,
48 million that's been already spent on that, is that just all the consulting that, in my opinion, the city council likes to hire people to do a lot of consulting, a lot of reports, but then I
always,
don't know
yeah.
what happens with all that information because nothing actually gets done afterwards, and it's very expensive, to my knowledge, to get that consulting and
Well,
reporting done.
consultants are always used to justify whatever council wants to do.
Well, they're
Uh, uh,
helping them write the narrative.
right. And generally, they'll support the position council already wants to take.
Mhm.
The same with city surveys. The city surveys are not really legitimate because they're not professional. They're not really scientific surveys. They are leading questions in the surveys that provide answers that the city wants to hear,
Right.
that all want to hear. So the consulting part's that too. But with regard to the spending, we've got 144 million, 141 million, 319 million, 11 million for for the fire station one, another 12 million for a parking structure downtown.
Mhm.
Okay. We've got money that we needed to allocate for the library. We got 4.2 million 4 years ago, and we only spent 1.2 of it to refurbish the library. And they haven't done that in 3 years.
What do you think the problem though is, George? Is it they don't have enough people to execute? they don't have the right people in place to execute? Because something like that should have been done immediately to refurbish the library. It's not a very hard project.
I don't think they wanted to. The library was a project they wanted to turn into a parking lot.
Oh,
So
okay.
when the library contract was up after 50 years,
Yeah.
we intended to buy it. We couldn't buy it because of COVID hit. So
Okay.
we bought the library for 4.2 million, and the county said, "We're going to give you that money back if you put it into the library and improve it."
Okay.
And the city just sat on the money for 3 years, and now they have to spend it because it's in escrow and the county will take it
But they
back.
have to spend it on the library. They can't
Correct.
divert those funds.
Correct. But the library, prior to that, in 2017, the city did studies of where they could put parking structures. That was a perfect spot. It would provide 110 spaces. You
Mhm.
could exit, enter from 3 different streets, so you wouldn't have turnarounds.
Mhm.
And downtown needs parking. I agree with all of that,
Mhm. I agree with
but
that.
I won't agree with moving the library to do it
Mhm.
because the public library system in the United States was created by Benjamin Franklin,
Mhm.
okay, as a lending library, and it's a precious resource, and it doesn't just do books. So, getting back to your question, though, about the spending spree, what's the problem? It's not staffing. We've increased staff by 35% over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Less than 10 years ago, we had one public works director who also acted as the chief engineer. Today, we have a public works director, chief engineer, and an assistant chief engineer, and the population has gone down.
Right. So what's the issue then? If they're
The
overstaffed, they have the resources to get things done. Why aren't things getting done in a timely manner?
I don't think there's competencies in the city. We have a very wealthy city here, as you know. You pay a lot of taxes as a landowner, and we're not getting value for it. There is absolutely no attention being paid to improving efficiency, to auditing different departments of how they're doing.
Mhm.
We did a minor audit of the finance department because we had to. We had 7 audits in the city that weren't up to snuff. And so we were forced to look at what was going on in that department. We also had huge turnover, which we have for most departments in the city.
Why do you think that is? There's a lot of good people that have left or been pushed out.
Um, I will just say that it's well known it's a toxic work environment, and it has been for many years. I know Dave Kiff is a good guy. He's trying to change it, but it takes a long time to do that, and there's still forces that act against that. And that's the reason you've had so much turnover in police department until recently, in the community development staff,
Mhm.
where we lost a ton of people. Um,
How do you change that work environment? Are the people at the staff level getting pressure from city council, planning commission, design review to like do things not per the law, not per the codes? Like, what would make the environment toxic? Because if you know what the guidelines are and you
yeah,
come to work every day, you do what you know you're allowed to do, and then you go home and you get to, enjoy your family, enjoy the beach, go for a walk. I mean, this is a beautiful place to
it
live
is. It
and
is.
work.
It is, and we all enjoy living here. It's one of the special places in California, maybe United States and the world. I
I
mean, it
agree.
really is. I mean, I always considered it as a place that lifted everyone up a little bit,
I
it's just
agree.
a but I think it's a lack of leadership in the city itself, lack of leadership from both the council and the city and their
Mhm.
department heads and how they treat people.
Mhm.
Okay, I think there's a nepotism, not nepotism necessarily, but I don't know what it is. I think it's a fair treatment for all isn't a tenant. There's no real ethics code that's enforced.
How do we
Okay.
change that though?
I think you change it through example by good leadership, by people doing the right thing and modeling that behavior for everyone to see, holding
Especially
people
during
accountable and not brushing things under the rug when they make
Mhm.
mistakes, which is commonly done in the city and has been for many, many, many years. It's commonly done. You don't get fired for what you do unless you're just an ordinary worker, then you're gone.
Right. Well, and what about so we've increased staff, but we reduced the hours of operation. at the city level?
We've done both. We've increased staff and reduced the hours, and we've also provided more vacation time. Now we have the whole week off during Christmas and New Year's. That's fine. But
Okay.
we also, my problem with it all is that we have people working from home too much.
Oh, so they're still allowing a flexible
Yes,
work from home.
yes,
So,
yes.
being on the other side of that and being a developer and working with architects and all of that, for me personally, I remember when I first moved here, I remember the department being more community serving. And by the way, I've been here for 2 decades. So I remember
Right,
it being more community serving. Like, what can we do to help you? How
right,
can I help
right,
you with this
right, right.
process?
Yeah.
Now, the architects and the developers and the homeowners and the residents have to run down to the city before it's closed. By the way, there's tons of people there because we're all of the same thought process. We need to get there before it closes. And now it's closed every Friday.
Well, you also have restrictive hours.
Yes. How do you
So
operate a business like that and expect it to be efficient?
well, this is part of what we talked about earlier. I think we should, and I proposed this to Alex when I was on the council. I said we should be looking at how to improve efficiency in the city. We should be looking at every department once every 10 years. We should audit that department for how it does its work.
Mhm.
What's its mission? Is it meeting its mission? Is it meeting its goals for productivity? Is it doing proper performance reviews? Does it have right staffing levels? Can we do things that automate that? And we are
Right.
doing some automation.
Okay.
We are bringing that in, but you still have this huge staff, bloated staff with $88 million in pension liability
Wow.
that taxpayers have to pay.
Right.
We
And the
have
staff is growing. It's not decreasing with all the automation coming in. You would think that less people, more efficiency would be happening eventually, but it sounds like it's going the opposite way where we're spending more money and it's becoming less efficient.
let me give you an example of that. I'm glad you brought that up. Community development, for example, is now our community development the size of Anaheim, a city that's 4 or 5 times as big as us, or Newport Beach. It's about equal to that.
How did it get
So
there though? Doesn't that need
so
approval from city council to continue to hire
no,
people? Who
no.
approves all those
The
hires?
the approval occurs at the budgetary process where they say, "We need 3 more people here. We need an assistant to the assistant. We need
So
a."
ultimately, city council is approving
It
it
is.
in the
It
budget.
is approving it, but it's
Yeah.
incremental every year. So you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, okay, I guess staff really needs that," and you go, "Yeah, okay, I guess," you know? But we don't also have this countervailing, why don't we use the state audit office? The state auditor provides a service for every city. And on a request basis or on a legal basis, they can be forced to audit a city. And they've done it for other cities like Compton, other cities that weren't operating effectively financially. They've come in and looked at it and made recommendations. We should be doing the same thing.
Right.
Every 10 years, we should have each one of the cities on a rotating basis. We have 10 departments.
Right.
We could do it.
When was
It's
the
not,
last time they had an audit?
they never had one.
Interesting.
Well, they have financial audits, which are
Right.
required by state law, but we've never actually audited fully any department. Even the financial audit was cursory, and it not in depth.
That's interesting. Well, I feel like Laguna really does need to start taking a look at their leaders and how the leaders are running the city. Because if we continue to not be efficient, this is why businesses are not coming to Laguna Beach. Like, I've seen more stores close now than I have in years. It's funny, the BJ's Brew House, Better Buzz came in there and made it very modern looking downtown, another coffee shop. And that went through quickly with flying colors. And I was very surprised at that because of the downtown, look and feel. I thought there's no way that they're going to blow out the facade of that building and make it a big white box with another coffee shop. And people know me for being pro development, pro
Sure,
property rights,
sure.
but then they also talk about in the city, um, you know, pattern of development. Well, what happened to the pattern of development there?
Hmm.
Why pick and
Or
choose which,
compatibility. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
why pick and choose which projects need to be compatible, which projects need to be within the pattern of development? And so, how do we get to a point where people can come here, do business, and buy property and be able to remodel their home and know what they're going to get into before they do all of that? Part of their due diligence. Other cities have been quite successful at that. building in those parameters so that as a business owner, you will be allowed to do this before you go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with your architect designing and doing all the things. And the same for homeowners. How do we get there, George? I know they have this efficiency ordinance.
Mm.
Not sure if you've really
Well,
dived into the details of that yet, but
well,
it's a bunch of crap.
on paper, uh, stores downtown have a by right to do anything. There's no restriction on. Planning commission doesn't say, are you a toy store? Are you a tattoo parlor? We don't care. Whatever, if you want to put a business in and replace the hot dog stand that was on Forest Avenue with the toy store, bingo, it can happen. It
Okay.
should happen quickly, unless you're doing something, odd with the architecture. But
We
you should,
had a guy,
but you should
took
be able
him
to.
1 year to get his massage business open at the Coast Inn in the Little Cottage. 1 year for the poor guy to get his permit.
Yeah, I think they had a flower shop there, and I do miss that. But I haven't gotten a tattoo yet, so thank you for. We have eight tattoo parlors, so I think we have enough.
We have
Uh,
8 in town?
yeah, we have 8, and we have
Okay.
21 coffee shops, so there's plenty of coffee to go around.
Yeah.
But I think you're right about the efficiency ordinance. I don't know what's stopping the the length of time it takes and reducing that length of time to approve businesses. And I do believe it's a gating measure to get that people walk away and they don't want to
They don't wanna
open a
do it.
business. But I think we also have too much retail, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay. People say retail's gone. We've got 10% space that is not being
Vacant,
used,
yeah.
right? But if you take away Gelson's and you take away Laguna Drugs, that turns into about 5%, because those are 4% of the total area is Gelson's, and another 2% or whatever is 1% is the Laguna Drugs. So we're about average for all cities in terms of retail space. Let's face it, retail has seen a decline in brick and mortar, and over
People
the
are
year.
doing a lot more shopping online for sure.
And I
But why
do,
are you against
I do,
retail? I
I do.
love walking
I'm not against
downtown
retail.
and, like, going into the different stores and supporting the local
You're
galleries and,
Well, you're a woman. 85% of shopping is done by women, so I'm not going to argue with you about that. That's a statistic that's there, and men are less so inclined, and I don't want to
Chris is
fight.
very not interested in shopping.
I
So,
mean, I don't I like retail shops being around, but I
yeah.
think we may have too many of them. That's all. We built them up over the years,
Mhm.
right? And we've had this Amazon effect and online effect. It's still a $7 trillion retail market in the United States, but it's now being,
You think it's
cannibalized.
oversaturated?
I think we are. I think people are
I don't
looking
think
for.
Laguna has enough good restaurants in town so that, when Chris and I wanna go out for dinner, it's the same old place over and
Well,
over again.
we have a lot of choices for dinner. Um, and I think we have more choices than any city of our size to have a drink.
That's true.
Okay,
The
and
drinking holes are plenty. Yes.
that isn't just bars. That's the
Yeah.
restaurants,
Yeah.
right? They're the place you go get a drink, you get wine, and I'm not opposed to any of that.
Yeah.
I think people should be have do that, but we probably have too many of them. I don't know how the restaurants are doing. The problem is there's not much guidance as to what will work in this town or not.
Right.
Okay.
There's a lot of the same.
Yeah, and you don't have to be very special if you're a restaurant that serves mostly tourists.
Mhm.
The consistency doesn't have to necessarily be
No.
there.
No.
You've gone to restaurants where you've had a bad experience,
Mhm.
you don't go back for 2 years.
Mm-mm.
So, I think the quality of restaurants, like Nick's or Nick's South or 230 and some others, you have a consistent quality of restaurant, residents will go there and do go there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, Las Brisas is another one. I haven't had dinner at the, Hotel Laguna, but,
I haven't either.
yeah,
Haven't checked it
yeah.
out yet.
Well, the last time I checked, the chicken was $52, so I avoided it, yeah. So, I think there's no secret formula for this. We have a pretty vibrant, residential. If you look at the number of stores we have, you look at the number of restaurants we have, the number of places to have a drink, we got plenty.
Right.
But the city could tell you all of that in a heartbeat as to how those businesses are doing based on the tax base. And we can also find out where the people come from that spend the money here,
Mhm.
just by the zip code on the credit cards they use. We don't have to identify who they are.
That's
We
true.
just know
The
what they're
data is
buying.
there. Yeah.
We just know the metadata is there and could inform decisions about, do we really need another coffee shop?
Do you think that council takes into consideration any type of data before making decisions? Because it feels very whimsical, like, oh, that looks like a good idea, or this person said that was a good idea.
I think it's a free market approach, and I think the chamber has a role to play in this, advising people as to what the demographics are. How many pet stores that sell ice cream do we have?
Hmm.
Or I'm exaggerating there, but we had one pet store that lasted for, I don't know, 6 months on Ocean Ave that replaced a really good card shop.
Hmm.
We don't have a good card shop.
Yeah.
You can go to Whole Foods or other places to get
Hmm.
cards, but there really isn't a good place to get cards.
No,
Uh,
that was
Singular,
right. No.
you know.
And I think that, at the end of the
So
day, I feel like good decision making is the foundation for everything. And I think the only way to get there is to put the right people in the positions.
absolutely,
And now that we have term limits,
yeah.
do you think that's going to make a difference?
Well, we have term limits on the ballot. The question is the public going to vote for term limits? Typically, they have.
Mhm.
29 out of 35 cities in Orange County have
Mhm.
term limits, and people like term limits. Mark Twain once said that politicians are like babies with diapers. They need to be changed often, and for the same reason.
Agree.
So I don't see anything wrong with term limits, and this is a reasonable one since I was involved, and I'll put a
Mhm.
pitch in. It's 2 terms. You serve 2 terms. That's 8 years. You sit down for 2 years, and you can come back.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah, so it's a reasonable approach. And if you're that popular and that good, serve on the planning commission, serve on DRB, do
Oh,
some.
you're saying go to a different board, just not go to the same one.
Yeah, don't run for reelection, but
Yeah.
you can be preferred for another position if you're that good a leader,
But I
okay?
feel I'm going to say something that's very
Sure,
unpopular.
sure.
I feel like the same people are getting reelected, and it's not from the majority vote, it's from the minority vote that actually comes out and votes. There are a few people in there that have been there for way too long,
Right.
and then they're the ones that are also recommending and electing the planning commissioners and the DRB. So, I have a problem with that.
I agree with you, and I served with Tony. I liked Tony but 24 years, it's way too much.
Way too much.
Yeah, way too much. But this allows you to serve for 24 years if you're willing to wait 2 years for each 8-year term. You're not restricted.
I would
You,
just hope that you don't come back if you're not
I,
doing right by the people
this
and
this will allow people with new ideas and fresh ideas to serve. And let's face it, we know that incumbency is a as a power center. You get pictures taken. Typically, the council likes to have one of their people in line. That's mayor now. Orgel is
Mhm,
running for office all of a sudden. He's going to have a lot of pictures taken of him and how cool he is.
mhm,
And pointing to a fire that he's helping to put out or whatever. So this publicity factor, the
mhm.
newspapers are all on the city's side.
Oh,
We
they're
don't have
all in
an
their pocket.
independent
No, we
we
don't.
don't have an independent newspaper.
We need one.
So what you have is kind of like pretty much an incumbency with a machine that's running the city,
Mhm,
and that machine is pretty powerful, as we've seen with the 5-0 votes that have happened over the last year.
mhm,
Maybe you've had 1 or 2 4-1s.
mhm.
I don't know.
I think the mayor should be an elected position.
I would agree with you there. I think the problem has been that the residents haven't been listened to, and they're also uninformed. They also make decisions based on partial information,
Rumors.
and right, and they also, since they're not listened to, they don't come to city council.
No, they
They're
don't.
not active.
But the reality is, up until recently, where I finally just got pissed, 20 years of being bullied and pushed around, I finally got pissed and said, I'm going to do something. A lot of people are now listening, and they'll call and say, "Hey, I was listening to this in my car. Thank you for putting this out there," because we're all busy. We all have full-time jobs, we have children, grandchildren,
Mhm.
lives,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
city council meetings go until what, 10 o'clock at night? No
yeah,
one's gonna stay up that
yeah.
late, and what they do strategically you can disagree with me because you were on council, is they push the
I
important items to the very end so people can't I can't keep my eyes open after
I
8:30.
I don't disagree with anything you said, Marcella. You said it well. I think what's going on there is they don't want people to come to city council meetings.
That's the problem.
And the former mayor, Alex, has said that. He said, we want to cut off the time for people to talk. They wanted to limit it to a half hour.
Alex said that?
Yes, he did.
That's
I
shocking.
was there.
Wow.
They really
Naughty,
don't want
naughty,
people.
naughty Alex.
They
He's
don't
on the
want
naughty
people.
list.
They don't want people to come to the city council meeting.
But
Uh,
those are the people who put them in those seats. They should want the people to come.
I
And I think they should be I think you and I talked about this at one point. They should allow people to remote in from their homes.
Well, that's state legislation that's going to force that by July of 2026.
Oh, that's not soon enough.
So write a letter to your council members and tell them that. They should initiate it sooner if they have the leadership qualities that we were looking for. And it's an election year. 3 are running for office.
Let's tell everyone which 3 are running.
What's that?
Which 3 are running for office?
Mark Orgill, uh, Alex Renagi, and Sue Kemp.
And of those 3, do you think they all should be reelected?
I don't want to say in this initial interview what my opinions are of the council. Um, I think I don't want to. We can have another discussion about specific actions that those members have taken. I've
Deal.
already talked to you about Bob's history. He
Mhm.
got 7,000 votes. People don't seem to think anything he does is wrong. So he was the highest vote getter, and he's made some very bad financial decisions, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I did a podcast on how, with the Pearl Street lawsuit, how we went to the city and we said to them, we'll drop our lawsuit if you change the municipal code to follow state laws.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Bob, on record, was said he didn't he
Disagreed.
disagreed.
Yeah,
And he's the attorney and he was reading the code along with Phil.
yeah,
And I thought for sure, regardless if he agrees or disagrees, the law is the law. He will guide the rest of the council members and say, hey, look, we may not like this, but this is the law and it's going to cost us money. And instead, they did not take our offer.
mm,
They ended up paying us out 2.5 million. And that also did not include the money that they wasted defending themselves. When we said to them, we will drop the lawsuit, we will not even ask for the attorney fees that we've paid out for our own attorneys up until this point if you just follow the state laws and change your code to follow the state laws. And they refused. And Bob led that refusal.
that's I didn't know that, but that's
Mhm.
not
I
surprising.
played
But
a clip of him saying it in 2
yeah,
different hearings. And, Peter Blake said, I don't want to hang my hat on this one. This is not the one I want to get sued on because we're not going to prevail. And it's going to
yeah,
be awful for both sides.
yeah,
And that's what happened.
yeah. Well, it was a bad decision by the city attorney and a bad decision by the council.
Mhm.
And as you say, perhaps led by Bob in this
Mhm.
case. And the city's out $2.5 million. So
Well, and there's other lawsuits coming
he's
down
not
the
running for
pipeline for
office,
that.
however. So
No, no.
unfortunately,
I want to kind of jump into affordable housing.
sure.
And how do we get more affordable housing here in the community, which desperately needs it?
Okay, I was on the Housing Human Services Committee, and I commend Alex for these two housing land trust and the community housing fund. Um, one is to do stuff, to build. One is to own stuff. So, how do we build more affordable housing? Um,
And where do you put it?
and where do you put it?
Mhm.
Um, First of all, you need a funding mechanism to do it, and we don't have room for a lot of housing. For number one,
Mhm.
34% for the public here. For the public is listing 34% of approximately of people are renters in this town.
Okay.
Of that percentage, I don't know what is considered affordable or not. And I don't think the city has done a proper assessment of what is affordable, how many of those units are affordable,
Of that
of
percentage.
that 34% that are renters. So of the, I know you know some affordable units probably in town. I know some. I know Sandpiper has 5 affordable units.
Mhm.
I think the ghost house that's on Catalina has 22 affordable units. Most of those are old and not in good shape,
Mhm.
and that's part of the reason they're affordable. They can't demand the high rents. So my first question is, why do we want to build new housing when we should be preserving the housing we have for affordability?
Well, and there's not really any good locations to build new housing. There was talks, I did not follow this closely, but there were talks about the church on Glenary
Yes.
becoming affordable housing.
Uh,
What do you think of that project?
well, it's coming back.
Okay.
Supposedly the application's coming this month.
Okay.
I talked to Miss Dunn, who's an elder of the church. And there's rescaling it back to 30, 35 units, which is fine, which is what it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be on the backside of the property next to Catalina, where it would fit in well.
Mhm.
Wouldn't affect maybe the Montessori school, wouldn't affect Bridge Hall, wouldn't affect the church itself. I haven't seen the new plans, so I
Okay.
can't speak to it. But I'm totally supportive of putting housing there.
I love that because a
Yeah.
lot of people in the community are really irritated about it going there. But at the end of the
Well,
day, Laguna's scarce. There's not a lot of places that you could put nice, newly built, affordable housing for people to enjoy.
was 72 units though, and that's the reason they were concerned about it with a spiritual center that was pretty big, have
Mhm.
events on top of the spiritual center.
So they scaled
So
the project way back.
it was, as you said, it
Yeah.
wasn't compatible with the community. It wasn't in line with the pattern of development,
Well, I wish them the
you know.
best of luck with that. I think that would sound
I
great.
think 32
Yeah.
units would be fine, 35 even.
Yeah.
The other things we can do though, there's certain lots available in North Laguna. There's where you get money is where you're close to downtown where people don't need a car.
Walk,
Okay.
bike.
We have 3 affordable housing units in town centers, and that's Hagen Place, it's
Mhm.
Alice Court, and it's National Homes on Wesley Drive. There's 80
Mhm.
units there. There's 20 some at Hagen Place. There's 28
Are those all
at
privately
Alice
owned or are
Court.
they owned by the city?
Well, they were originally owned by the city, at least Ellis Court was, but they're all are privately developed.
Mhm.
Okay, and the Ellis Court was a mitigation for the people who had to leave the Montage area,
Oh, okay.
Treasure Island, which was there before.
Okay.
So it didn't meet the needs of all those residents, but it was a mitigation for it. And it's a nice center and it didn't arouse any problem. Where we can put places is here and there with 10 units here, 20 units there, if we can fit that many into those, but we need funding mechanism, and that
Mhm.
consists of the city is not can't be responsible for providing affordable housing.
Mhm.
They can zone for it, which they have to do under law, but why should they don't have no obligation to provide housing as a housing trust itself,
Mhm.
and those are going to be separate things eventually anyway. But the city can put up money or land, half of that or a portion of it,
Mhm.
and have the private sector do it.
Mhm.
Now, the way to get the money for the city, in my opinion, is to tax those 2,400 or more homes that aren't being used and are investment vehicles essentially for people who live out of town.
So it's not their primary residence.
It's not their primary residence, and most of it is an investment,
Mhm.
which who wouldn't want to invest in Laguna as you have,
No,
right?
I mean, I think Laguna is one of the most beautiful beach
It's
cities.
most beautiful, one of the most
Mhm.
beautiful cities on earth,
Yeah. It's
right?
very
It is.
beautiful.
It's
Everyone loves to work
yeah,
and live here.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Everybody,
funny because the people that work here in this office at our Christmas party they were talking about what a great environment it is, where they get to work, at lunch, they can go down
the
and
weather,
grab a surf, run down the
it's
beach.
not too windy.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
It's
Um,
it's a great place to live. It should be a great place to work, and I wish it was a great place to work for the city employees, you know? Uh,
they're all driving in from out of town in different places.
but there's still too much turnover,
I
too
know,
much turnover,
I feel like
way too much turnover.
to end the turnover, like you said, if it's a toxic environment, major changes need to be made. And how do those changes start? Do you just blow up the whole system and start all over? Do you slowly chip away at it? Because I feel like this slow chipping away has made it worse, not better.
You need a leader that's, sets the example for moral and ethical behavior to do the right thing.
Which position do you think would lead that charge most
That has to
effectively?
be the city manager along with the city council,
The city
all
manager, I
both.
believe he's a good guy. I like him. I think
Yes,
he
I do
has good
too.
intentions. My issue is that he may be a little naive.
They shouldn't be. They served in city management, city offices for over 25 years.
I feel that naive in a sense of the city council that's in place currently and wanting to do the things that they want to do. I feel like he's looking at them like, okay, these are good first steps. They really are wanting to make changes, but he really isn't seeing the other side of that, of if it's a good first step, if they don't continue to move that
Yeah.
path
Yeah.
forward, or there's
Yeah.
not an ordinance in place saying, okay, this is a first step, but the next step is going to be X, Y, and Z, and you have to get it done by this date. It kind of just leaves an open gateway for the city to say, well, we kind of did this first step and we'll relook at it in 20 years. And I'm
Uh,
I'm referring to the efficiency ordinance, by the way.
well, I think that the city manager, let me just say this, the city manager is under a lot of pressure by the city council. He's got a 3-year contract, he or she, and they're always looking for those 3 votes. Am I still in good with the city council? They still gonna vote for me if I wanna extend my contract. What do I do if they don't?
And I don't feel that
You know,
that's
so
proper
there's a lot
checks
of
and
pressure.
balances.
The city manager's job, as you described it, should be direct and advise the city council to do the right thing in
Hmm.
the legislation they bring forward. And first and foremost, we just discussed it. It should have been that project. Every piece of information should be brought forward to city council and the public on a solid decision basis for which to make a financial decision
Hmm.
and for what it's going to be used for. And that didn't happen. And that's partly a result of staff.
Well,
Yeah.
and speaking to that, there's closed door sessions, and I 100% disagree with them. Now, could there be small instances where you're like, okay, we have to have a closed door session and then we'll reveal it to the public? You were on city council. How do you feel about the closed door sessions? Are they a good thing? Are they a bad thing? Is there a better way to kind of have the community involved, at least so that they know what's going on in their community?
That's a good question, and I don't think I can answer it at this meeting because I think there's a lot of things in the closed session that should be made public, that I feel could be made public without any legal liability being
Mhm.
involved. So I would want to avoid any legal liability if we're talking about a personnel matter, for example,
That's understood, an HR
okay?
issue.
And there's state law governing some of that for the
Mhm.
police department, for example.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so you have to be very careful about it.
What about the lawsuits?
The
Lawsuits, when they're filed, are public record. You just have to go to the website and you could pull down the entire complaint. Do you think
yeah.
those should be closed door sessions?
I don't know, and I don't mean to be a lawyer. I think in some cases, yes, in some cases, no, but I can't tell you specifics,
Just depends
Marcella.
maybe on the case
I
and
think
what's
I think
being
it depends on the
discussed.
case and the merits of the case.
Mhm.
For personnel matters, again, that's a real touchy one,
I would agree with
because
you, that might be hard.
you have a lot of lawsuits
Mhm.
from
Be a little
personnel
sticky.
against the city, some warranted,
Mhm.
where they've been mistreated. We had one case in Newport Beach, who the, HR director, who was our HR manager in 2017, 2015. She had a staff of 3,
For
and now we
HR?
have a staff of 8 for the HR director, okay? Population is gone.
Currently is a staff of 8?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
staff of 8. Anyway, this lady, sued the city manager and the city attorney for, trying to have her hide monies that were being used indiscreetly for other purposes. And she won her lawsuit, uh, and she's now living in Montana. She's retired.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well, that
sure
was pretty stressful, I bet.
Barbara Silvino, if you want to look her up, I'm happy to send you the lawsuit and the analysis of it. But the city bought it off. And typically what happens is misbehavior occurs. The city just says, okay, we'll give you some money, go away and don't say anything about us. And we won't say anything about you, so you can get another job.
Right, and then they sign a little
Yeah.
piece of
Yeah, it's a
paper. Yeah.
mutual non-disclosure agreement,
Mhm.
confidentiality agreement that wipes the slate clean, so to speak. But you still have to question it.
Oh, of course. Um, with affordable housing, do you think that Laguna will be able to meet the quota that has been demanded?
That's probably not.
Just the landscape of
Probably,
Laguna
yeah,
Beach, it's
yeah.
hard, right?
It is hard. And I don't see the ADUs account for part of it. I
Mhm,
don't know how many, but we've had probably 150 or more ADUs being built, maybe 200.
mhm.
Some in development, some built, some on the planning stages, some just approved
Do
as
junior
plans.
ADUs also count towards the
Some of them, some of them,
Okay.
but our ADU laws are pretty, they're governed by the state, but in Malibu, as I understand it, every ADU requires a occupancy permit. The intention of the law was for housing, right?
Mhm.
So why wouldn't you want an occupancy permit to allow the person to open up a unit and for housing? But that's
Okay.
not required, and we have no idea whether any of those housing units have actually been used to provide affordable housing. None that I know of.
Well, I think the other thing about ADUs that are really good are, as your parents get older, or you have grandparents,
Sure.
like I have an ADU that's in process. I'm moving my mom in there. I
Yeah.
can't have her living
Sure.
alone
I
anymore.
agree.
And
Yeah.
she also wants her privacy.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be around my chaos.
Yeah.
So we're building an ADU for her. Otherwise, she would have had to find something here locally in Laguna to
Well,
reside at, and I
yeah.
don't want her living alone. She's not at a point where in her
Yeah.
life I wanna take care of her the way she took care of me.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be
Sure.
by herself.
Well, that was one of the other I agree with you 100%, and it's you want your loved ones near you,
Mhm,
especially they're aging and
mhm.
not
Be
able to
around their
take care.
grandchildren and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my
Yeah.
mom is
Share meals
still
with them and
right.
yeah.
So
You
I
have your
think the ADU.
separation and you have your togetherness too. You
Mhm.
have both. But I think that's a perfect solution for it. I don't know how many units have been used for that. I don't know. No one's
And they're
has any
not
data.
tracking that data?
No, no one's tracking the data, and they say it's difficult to track. Housing and Human Services Committee said they were trying to do a survey, but never really came up with one. So, but getting back to affordable housing, I'm glad you brought this up. I think you need to preserve housing. Otherwise, you become a monochromatic community of very wealthy people paying high rents and owning expensive homes, and all of the workers that come into town don't live here.
Mhm,
You lose them. They're
mhm,
living in Lake Forest somewhere. And today, we have 6,000 trips a day of people coming in and out of this town. And a lot of those are vendors. A lot of those are workers who work
mhm.
at the restaurants, who work at the retail stores, who work for the city.
They would love to be in town and be able to enjoy it the way we enjoy it. They are the ones that are servicing the community, so it would be nice to be able to give back and have them be able to work and afford to live in Laguna Beach.
At least some of them. We should try.
We should try.
We should try. And that's
I
what we're
believe that there are incentives that we could be giving the private sector to help fill that gap. Do you have any ideas on what those
well,
could
I, I
be?
I think I think we talked about it offline. I think permitting, waiving the permitting process. It's a lot of money to go through community development to build something.
Mhm,
You waive all those fees. If your if your if your housing has that met the needs of those six categories from low income to moderate,
mhm,
moderate's the high point, which is really workforce housing.
mhm.
So I would agree with you that we should provide those incentives. We should contribute to it with the housing fund. We
That would
should
be nice.
extract money from those houses that of secondary homes that are used in investment vehicles and tax them.
Where is the money for the housing fund? Where is that going?
Well, there really isn't. There was a 2.5 million allocation for the housing, one of the housing funds, and they were hoping for a matching grant from the state. I don't know if that's going to happen. So
Okay.
I don't know where the money's coming from other than private donors.
Right.
You know, when I've talked to people that are connected in town, they say they have a Rolodex of people who will contribute to housing if it's allocated for Laguna residents. If. And the only way you can do that is not to take money from the state or the feds.
Okay.
Then you can do it. Then you can do it. You can find a private developer like you, partner with them, provide half the money or half the land, and say we're going to restrict this to,
Affordable
and we're not going to use union
labor.
labor, so it'll save us a ton of money,
Mhm.
and we're going to build each unit for 250 or 300,000 rather than 500,000.
Yeah, the labor,
As
the
you know,
union would be it would make
well,
it unfeasible.
Everything's
to
going
you.
up in cost,
Yeah.
20%, 30% for lumber. You've got fewer people in town because they're being deported that were laborers on construction sites. So all those
Mhm.
factors are playing heavily into all of the promenade is going to be probably 6 million rather than 3 million. So where's the money coming from? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. We just say, yeah, we're going to have to spend more money. It just,
It feels like Laguna is wasting a lot of money, and it feels like the only way to change it, like you said, is to change leadership. And I really hope with this new reelection that there'll be some new leaders in there.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
said it before. I really like Alex. I think he's a good guy. I think that he has fresh ideas. I hope that he continues to advocate for his ideas and not suppress his ideas to what other city council members want him to do or want him to say. Um, but I really do hope for a really big change because Laguna really needs it. Laguna depends on it. And I think that people are kind of fed up. And I do think that people are starting to like voice their opinions where they weren't doing it before.
Well, you're a start of that. You're creating a spark that I hope will do that. I tried to do it for 3.5 years when I wrote recaps of every city council meeting. And I would even put what residents said
Hmm.
into those reports. And it took a long time. And frankly, I was a little disappointed that I didn't get more people activated. As this is your money.
It
This is
is.
your town.
Hmm.
And what do you want it to be?
Yeah.
What do you
Every
want it to be?
You can't
You
just
know?
sit around and complain and not be part of the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're not part of the solution, you're just going to be a victim of it,
You
of
know, and I
whatever action's
appreciate
taken.
you because you wrote something on Nextdoor app. And I wrote to you and I said, George, let's get together. Let's talk. And I did not think I would ever hear from you. And you called me. I sent you my documentation. You've read it. And we're building a friendly relationship to where we could talk about the city issues, even if we don't agree. And I think that Laguna needs to learn from this. I feel like there's
Yeah,
too many people in town
yeah,
that will like,
yeah,
scowl at
right,
people or
yeah,
not talk to people because they don't have the same political point of views. And I think that the environment that we're in today,
yeah,
we can all
yeah,
coexist and
yeah.
have different views. So
Thank
I
you,
really appreciate you
thank
coming
you,
on. I
thank you.
really look forward to hopefully doing more podcasts with you and talking about the issues that Laguna has and how we can fix them. And hopefully people are listening to your wisdom as well because you've been such a voice in the Laguna community that I think that together people will start listening and coming to the meetings and feeling the confidence because I know for the last 2 decades I wasn't confident to come forward because I felt like, oh, I'm going to be more bullied, I'm going to be more harassed, and
Hmm.
I have to be careful and I have to
Yeah,
placate and plate
yeah,
everyone's egos, and now I'm
yeah,
like, no, I don't. There are other people that are fed
yeah,
up with the system, and I
yeah,
think if everyone comes together
yeah.
we can have positive change. It might take a while, but I think we could get there.
Thank you for what you just said. I agree with everything you said. And the goals are worthy. It's a lot of work, and I appreciate you putting the work into it. And don't give up because it's easy to give up and when you don't see immediate results. But as you know from next door or other medias, 80% of people don't respond, but they may appreciate what you've written. Eventually, they will activate.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I'm
and
looking
that's what we're
forward
looking
to it.
for.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much,
You're
George. I
welcome,
really
Marcella.
appreciate you coming
My
on.
pleasure.
Thank you. This is Unmasked, the place where the truth gets told, the masks come off, and Laguna Beach finally hears what's been happening behind closed doors. If you want transparency, stay with us. If you want accountability, share this episode. If you want your voice to be heard, email me at info@unmaskedwithmarcella.com. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'm Marcella, and as always, stay loud, stay aware, and stay unmasked.